So if you remember when we go into Photoshop, right now we're gonna say import and open. So we wanna import a photo and we're gonna go to our picture here. And you notice that this comes up on a separate paper, a separate canvas than the other project, which is exactly what we want. I'm gonna skip the tour. And what I'm gonna do now, what's really cool about Photoshop, if you hold down this third tool down, it looks like a lasso and there's a little triangle. There's a tool, the third tool over, which will let you like select an area. So if I click, you see it's just selecting all the green area. That works really well if you have a neutral background, meaning you just have a one color background, like a wall that's all the same color. And I can just go on the very bottom where it says erase. And if I click that one time, it'll erase that whole area. Now, let's say that you don't have a solid background and you know it's really busy in there. You could actually just click on this fifth tool down, which is an eraser, and you can change the size of your brush here. And literally, if you just click on it and move your finger around, what I like to do is get all of the outside area with a really big brush so it goes pretty fast. And then as you go in to get the details, you can zoom in and get a smaller brush and get closer. So that's another thing that you can do. Okay, and then there was another tool that I didn't get to show you, which is kind of cool. If you go back to your selection tool and you hold that down, there's something that says select subject. And just click on that picture. Let's see what a good job. See how it just selects her for me? And then what I can do on the very bottom, there's something that says invert, which means instead of selecting her, I'm going to press invert and it's going to select the background. So now it's selecting everything but her. And then I could click the erase button and now it gets rid of it. Okay, and then I can click deselect to get off of that. So those are all tools that you can use that kind of do the same thing. I'm going to go back with my eraser and I'm just going to clean this up a little bit over here, like right by your head, and just do the best you can. You can see in between the details in her hair, we still see a little bit of that green. And if you wanted to get a really small brush and clean that up, you could, but otherwise it doesn't matter too much. It's hard to get every little detail sometimes, but it will still read pretty well once we work with this image. So you can see that looks pretty good. Now, what we're gonna do from here, if you notice, there's no background behind her. So I can go ahead now and bring in my other picture as the background. So what I can do, if I go on the bottom of my toolbar, there's a picture, and I'm gonna go to my photos, and all of you have saved your background there. So if I click recent here, and I go down, I'm gonna find my words, and I can click on my words, and now my words come up over top. And I can, again, they don't fit quite perfect. That's okay. We can crop it later. I'm going to click, I can go to done on the top. And now I can click with my finger and drag that underneath. And now she is over top, right? And if it doesn't fit quite perfectly, you can go to the crop tool here. And that way you can make it fit perfectly. So I'll click done there. And now if you click on the picture layer, what you can actually do is mess around with this a little bit. So if you look at the tools on the right side, here's a different way of showing the layers. When I click on these right here, if you look at these three little sliders, I've got some choices. So the first one is blending options. I can make her see-through. So let's just take a look at how that looks. I'm going to click off of my layers for a moment. And that way I can like turn it off. And now we see the emotion that she has on her face, but also we see the words through there. So if you don't want to lose your words, you want to be able to see through, that's a choice, is to change the opacity. And what I'm going to have you do for this assignment is you might want to make a couple different versions. So let's say I like the way that that looks so far. I'm going to go ahead to the top right to this box with the arrow. And I'm going to do quick export. So it's going to save a snapshot, and I'm just going to go ahead and save it to my camera roll. So I'll click save image. And now I've got that version saved. And now I can keep going. So let's see what else I can do. Let's say I want to leave the opacity. The other thing that you can do, if you look down there, it says blend mode. And you can click through these different blend modes and see how they change. So you can see darken is also making it kind of see-through. Multiply makes it a little bit darker. Color burn. Here's a linear burn. Lighten. So what I can do is click the second tool down, which is our transform tool. And now I can kind of play around with size if I wanted to make her bigger, if I wanted to move her around the image. So you can kind of experiment with that. And I just click done on the top right to keep it. And just to show you, there's how it looks. And there's some other kind of cool things that you can do. So there's another thing that you can do where it says add clipped adjustment. So let's say I just want to keep this on normal. Let's say I like the way that looks. But if I go to add clipped adjustment, I could make it black and white. And you can actually play with how intense you want your darks and lights to be. And then you could do a blend mode that way and just see how the blend mode looks without messing with the background. So that's kind of something interesting that you can do just dealing with the photo layer. And I don't think I like the blend mode. I'm going to stick with normal on that one. I could add a clipped adjustment called hue and saturation. If I drag it all the way to the right for lightness, I can make it white. If I drag it all the way to the left under lightness, I can make it dark. So if you wanted to tone it kind of darker or make it lighter, those are things that you can do. I think I like it a little bit darker. Playing with saturation, how intense are the colors? So after you've played with moving around your portrait, changing the blend modes and changing the adjustments, then you're going to go ahead and settle on where you want your portrait to be, and then you can go ahead and save. I'm going to keep it just like that. What I like about this is that I can read this first line, why do you judge me by the color of my skin? And then for this very middle, if you read around her, it says, people, stop judging others. So I like that composition like that. I'm going to go ahead and keep that version, and I'll go ahead and create a quick export.